With how well Konami treated the dark attribute, you might think that they would show a little love for light too. But maybe it's the opposite. Konami likes dark so much, they end up hating light. There's almost something poetic in that, like Bizarro's Mirror, where some of the light support are remixes of cards featured earlier. However, sometimes they are obviously inferior. In terms of support, light is slightly below fire, at least in count. Although, in terms of quality, you will have to evaluate for yourself. We're going to start with an honorable mention, which happens to be the first somewhat relevant light support card chronologically. Ray of Hope. And I have to wonder if this is an early attempt at salvage, since it recycles 2 light monsters, but they go to the deck, not the hand. This card is a -1, and the effect is debatably positive. I think there might be a case in early Lightsworn decks, but I really don't know. I'm fairly sure that I've seen this card in a competitive deck list, but maybe it was in a dream. Regardless, Beckoning Light is another stab at Luminous Salvage. This trap discards your whole hand, then replaces those cards with light monsters from your graveyard. Still a -1, but I know for a fact that this card saw competitive play. At the very least, it was used in Lightsworns for graveyard/hand fixing, discarding dead wolves to recycle Luminas or JDs. But I'm not convinced that that was the best use case for the card. At least until Fableds came out. That deck could take advantage of the discard effect, actually making the card positive in terms of card advantage, and supporting swarming. The next card is a potential payoff for that swarming. Solar Ray is a burn card which scales based on the number of light monsters you control, potentially up to 4,200 damage, or 3,000 before links. That is a lot of damage, and you do not have to tribute the monsters or anything. Just having them on field is enough. Not once per turn either. I'm still on the fence about should burn be a part of your deck, but in this case, just having 2 light monsters on board puts the card stronger than a Meteor of Destruction. I'm not saying it's a win condition, but I think that it's worth mentioning. It is similar to Spiritual Fire Art Kurenai in the previous video. There's actually another burn trap in the next video as well, and I sort of want there to be a whole attribute cycle for symmetry, but then I think about the consequences of my wishes and let's just move on to the Light of Redemption. This spell costs 800 life points and nets a banished light monster to hand. This is not bad, but I am immediately reminded of Dark Eruption, which was released in the previous set and is debatably superior. You are way more likely to have monsters engraved than banishment, plus Dark Eruption is free. On the other hand, Light of Redemption is completely generic. I don't know. I just feel like they could have done a little better for the light attribute. At least this card synergizes with the next one, the Fountain in the Sky. You can banish your light monsters destroyed by battle and heal some life points. There might be something that you could do with light attribute floaters like Shining Angel and Nova Summoner to deck thin and possibly profit life points. And I can think of exactly one deck which sort of benefits from recurrent life point game, and that is Era Mages. And all the best monsters in the archetype happen to be light attribute, but relying on battle destruction is a very shaky proposition. Exploring theoretical niches in the quest for thoroughness. Remember how we just mentioned Shining Angel and Nova Summoner? Well, those cards are featured in the artwork for Photon Lead, which is sort of like a light double summon on a quick play spell. I used to be really down on this type of effect because it always felt like burning card advantage for no reason. But the game getting faster changes that mentality. This can be used for play acceleration or extension, which can be worth the -1. Some decks can even instantly recoup the loss with monsters that have on-summon effects. But that is beside the point. I think the really cool part of the card, and probably the intended use case, is forcing your opponent into a replay battle after denying a direct attack. Preferably with a floater, hence the 2 featured in the artwork. Quick destruction effects are hard to come by, so this could force your opponent to either crash into the floater or end their battle phase prematurely, which can pose quite the difficult decision. We are moving from one Photon card to another. Photon Veil is potentially a useful search card, with a huge asterisk. You have to shuffle 3 light monsters from deck to hand, which is a big cost. Then you can add up to 3 level 4 or lower light monsters from deck to hand. Okay, a -1, but pretty good card selection at least. maybe it's worth the cost, but then there is that final line. If you add 2 or more monsters, they must have the same name. This makes the card extremely tricky to use. There are a few good targets, like Wadapon, to special summon 3 monsters, but at the cost of a -1 still. This effect does shuffle the monsters from hand before adding from deck, meaning if you happen to draw a brick, you can put it back into the main deck before immediately bringing it back to the hand. I see the utility, but the use case is so narrow, and that -1 is just a hard sell. Can you imagine the -3 if you only have 1 target left in deck? I guess you could play Photon Veil with Ojamas, especially Ojamas added with Oja Magic to mitigate some of the card disadvantage, but then you're running a Wadapon Ojama deck. And at that point, why not just start adding the alphabet mechs? They're all light attribute too. Get the whole Chaz experience going. Let's just move on to the caboose of this little photon train. Photon Sanctuary special summons 2 photon tokens, which cannot attack or be used as synchro material. Tokens cannot be used as Xyz material either, as a quick reminder. But these tokens can be used for a tribute summon, but only for light monsters since this card has a non-light lockout effect. I think the immediate comparison is with Fires of Doomsday, which has a more severe summon lockout, but is on a quick play spell, which sort of negates that restriction. 6 of one or half a dozen of the other. This is definitely intended to set up for a tribute summon, but is pretty good link fodder now. I think because Photon Sanctuary is faster, yeah, I know, normal spell faster than a quick play spell, it has appreciated better than Fires of Doomsday at least. A card that I'm not sure has appreciated well is Constellation Belt. The activation of light monster effects cannot be negated. Very simple effect, but potentially having some wide use cases. This can be protection from some of your opponent's cards, and maybe stop your opponent from using Called by the Grave on your Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, but I need to confirm that ruling. Effect Veiler is also in that weird space that will probably get a judge called over in a tournament. How is this card so complicated with just a 1-sentence effect? Let's just get to that last card in the video. Watt Psychic Fighting Porter looks like it has a typo, but I guess the pun makes up for it. This is not specifically Watt's support, nor Psychic support, although it does remind me of both teleport cards. Emergency because it's a quick play, and normal teleport because of special summons from hand. If you thought Photon Lead was good, this is sort of a double Photon Lead, with upside. It special summons up to 2 level 3 or lower light monsters from hand, then, if they share a type, they can attack directly. And, if they share an original level, they cannot be destroyed by battle, and keep in mind these effects do stack. I guess you can use this card to stop your opponent's battle phase similar to with Photon Lead, at least if you summon 2 monsters of the same level, because your opponent would not be able to attack over them. That super niche case might be a stretch, but using this card as a double summon gives it some use in accelerating slower archetypes. I guess you could even run it in your Wadapon Ojama deck. And with that, let's get down to my competitive picks. Light of Redemption is just good enough to consider in certain decks, but only barely. Photon Lead and Watt Psychic Fighting Porter are good acceleration. Photon Sanctuary is similar too, generating 2 tokens, but that lockout effect is rough. Keep it in mind when deck building. If Constellation Belt does what I think it does, then it gets this mention. Otherwise, forget about it. Finally, Solar Ray is potentially useful as soon as I decide whether or not Burn belongs in non-dedicated decks. Would you believe that there's an even more debatable Burn card when we get to the water support?